How's it going, everyone? It's Savi from Snowstorms. Today is February 2nd, 2021, and today we're going to talk about obviously the major northeast snowstorm that's currently happening right now and when it will finally leave the United States after dumping nearly over 2 feet of snow in some areas. And we'll also talk about the two next potential snowstorms that could bring major snow to the Midwest and potentially the Northeast later during the week and into early next week. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So let's begin by first taking a look at the two potential snowstorms. Then we will go in depth with the current snowstorm that's happening in the Northeast right now. But as you can see, around 84 hours from now, just past the 3-day mark, headed into the 4-day mark, you see that there's a pretty strong low pressure system or extra mid-latitude cyclone moving through the United States, where it's down to 997 millibars, which is quite strong. And in fact, it's more powerful than the current snowstorm we're experiencing right now. And that dumped over 2 feet of snow in many areas, especially in northern New Jersey and Pennsylvania. But however, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to see as that much snow, because obviously there are several other factors we need to keep in mind when determining the snowfall accumulation, such as how fast the storm moves and how much snow there will actually be. However, the fact that it's this powerful, this storm, means that it's likely you're going to see at least some sort of major snowfall event somewhere in the Midwest, especially since we're going to just have a lot of unstable air that's going to be in the Midwest at the time this low pressure system moves into the Great Plains, because within around 48 to 54 hours from now, which is definitely very certain when it comes to the forecast time frame, when we're only 2 days out, there still could be changes, but for the most part the computer models are pretty confident of at least the general idea of what's going to happen. And you see that headed into 60 hours from now, there's a lot of unstable air. You see that dip in the jet stream just behind it, and you see a pretty strong area of a pretty large area of warm air to the eastern side of it, and a strong southeasterly wind component, which will bring a lot of that humidity further upwards, and it'll create a lot of unstable air in this region, where the cooler dense air will try to filter into the much warmer Gulf of Mexico water vapor filled air, which will force a lot of that, which will create a lot of convection and create a lot of precipitation as a result of this. And we're going to see the storm gradually strengthen and rapidly strengthen at that, as it's going to drop down to 977 millibars and bring up just a large area of snow throughout the Midwest, affecting a lot of the big cities. So this isn't going to be just a interior Midwest threat or a threat that's going to mostly affect Canada. This is going to affect the southern cities as well, such as Chicago. Well, it's not considered a southern city, but it's still considered far south enough to the point where you don't consider Chicago as a interior Midwest type of city. But this affects Minneapolis, this affects Des Moines, this affects Springfield, this affects Indianapolis. So this affects a large area. This affects Kentucky as well, and even Michigan and Detroit, where you could see some snow from this. And this even extends to interior portions of the Northeast. At this point, it does seem likely that this snow will go all the way south to affect the cities right around the I-95 corridor. However, by the time this storm reaches the Northeast, we're going to be 4 days out. So there's still a lot of uncertainty when it comes to forecasting the Northeast. And remember, any small differences in how far that cold air moves can make a big difference in how much snowfall you receive. But I'd say, based off of my experience, more likely than not, I don't expect the I-95 cities such as New York City, Boston, Philadelphia to get a major snow event from this. At best, I would say maybe a couple of inches of snow if there's just enough cold air in those regions, but I don't expect anything like we're seeing right now, where many places are seeing close to a foot or over a foot of snow right around the metropolitan regions in those cities. I think that's out of the possibility. However, there's still that possibility that maybe that cold air could seep far enough south to affect the major cities along the East Coast and at least bring some slick conditions on the roads, even if it isn't a ton of snowfall. However, the places that could receive a ton of snowfall from this are the Midwest states, where the snow is just going to swallow up the Midwest completely. And the European model also agrees with this for the most part, as they're very similar in terms of their forecasts. But however, I will point out that the European is a little bit weaker with the storm than the GFS model, as it doesn't expect it to grow as strong. It does still expect it to strengthen into a 984 millibar storm. However, it isn't as strong as the GFS, so I'd assume that the snowfall accumulation forecast is a little bit lighter on the European side. However, if we take a look at both of them in terms of their snowfall accumulation, I would say that for the most part, they're the same. So, which is definitely good to see, because it gives us high confidence that the snow totals right around those areas will be at least right around the ballpark, where you see that in the GFS, we're seeing a good area of 8 to 12 inches and close to a foot in some areas, especially right around Michigan, northern Michigan. And there's just a large area of 6 to 12 inches. Chicago is getting involved with, I would say, around 3 to 6 inches. Des Moines as well. And this affects a large area of the Midwest for the most part. And this will affect the interior Northeast a little bit, but don't be fooled by these snow totals you see here, because this the snow totals that was forecasted by the GFS when the run was made. So do not associate it with this next snowstorm that's going to pass through the Midwest and Northeast. However, there's still going to definitely be some snow in the interior Northeast. However, at this point, it doesn't seem like it's going to be major by either the European or the GFS model, as mostly it's around 1 to 3 to 3 to 6 inches right around the interior Northeast, close to the Great Lakes region of upstate New York. However, it's still enough to at least cause some trouble along the roads right around the interior Northeast. So you guys need to keep that in mind. And what could change the factors of how much snow you receive in the Midwest and the Great Lakes? Well, it really all depends on how fast it strengthens, which depends on how much unstable air there is, which depends on how big this bump in the jet stream will be. Because if the bump is bigger, that means the ridge will be stronger, and a stronger ridge would mean the stronger southeasterly winds to induce more of that unstable air in the Midwest and create a much stronger storm and rapidly intensify the storm a little bit. Because, as you know, movement in the atmosphere, especially during the winter, when there's more contrast between temperatures, when warmer temperatures move up more up north, that creates a more unstable environment overall for the low pressure system. And if that were the case, then that would mean that this low pressure system would be much stronger and dump potentially over a foot in a lot of areas in the Midwest. However, at this point, I would say the general forecast for you guys should be right around 8 to 12 inches throughout the Midwest. I would say through Wisconsin and Michigan. So here's a map I made regarding the snowfall forecast for the Midwest, and you see that there's a large area of 6 to 12 inches, which includes Green Bay, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Chicago, and a lot of Michigan as well. So this would be another major snowstorm you guys will have to deal with, as I see it pretty certain you guys will at least experience a major snowstorm from this in the Midwest, in excess of 6 to 12 inches, and then 3 to 6 just south of that, because obviously there's going to be a little bit of rain mixing in with this, and the storm won't be as developed by the time it in the more westward and southern areas, so you won't get as much snow. And then 1 to 3 just to the south and west of that. So this is expected to be a major snowstorm. I'd prepare if you're in the Midwest, especially in the areas that were already hardest hit right around the Midwest, where Chicago got snowfall totals right around 12 inches from this recent snowstorm. So to see another one within a matter of days, within only a matter of 3 days, as a matter of fact, is definitely going to add insult to injury, and you guys definitely need to prepare and not let your guard down, because 6 to 12 inches is I still consider it a major snowstorm that could definitely cause havoc on the road. So keep that in mind, and we need to and we need to just stay tuned to how the weather moves over the next several days, because if there's a little bit of a jet stream dip, this could these snow totals could increase because of the higher amount of unstable air and how strong this storm is. And also a jet stream dip would sort of slow down this storm a little bit, since it would move less in a easterly direction and more from a southerly direction, which would definitely slow this thing down from moving very far out to the east. So we just need to keep in mind how the weather changes. However, for the most part, I think this is a most likely scenario for the Great Lakes region in terms of snowfall. And now I know what the other storm you guys are looking at right now, and it's the one just right next to it where it says Storm 2. You see that I'm listing a low pressure that is bringing the heaviest snow right along the east coast and moderate snow just to the west of that. And no, this isn't the snowstorm you're experiencing right now. This could be our next potential snowstorm that could impact the northeast. So I just want to bring out a big disclaimer that this is definitely far from certain, because this is something I'm forecasting around 5 to 6 days out. And when we're talking about forecasts around 5 to 6 days out, it becomes very uncertain, and there's still that possibility that it doesn't happen at all or nothing major occurs at all. However, considering the fact that both of the computer models are currently forecasting at least some sort of another low pressure system moving up northeast coast, I had to talk about it. And especially since that my channel is all about really giving you guys forecast before anyone else, before mainstream media does it. So I want to at least make you guys aware of this next potential snowstorm that could happen in the northeast next week. So let's take a look right around Sunday on February 7th, and you see there's a low pressure system just off the coast of North Carolina, and you see there's a little bit of snow just to the north of it. And what's interesting too is that we see another swath of snow just to the northwest of it. And and if you're a weatherman or meteorologist or aspiring to be a meteorologist, when we see a snow swath right next to a pretty well-developed low pressure system like this, it looks like a recipe for a disaster, because we've seen storms like this merge and then become one of the biggest snowstorms we've ever seen. And I'm not saying, by all means, I'm not saying that this is going to be the biggest snowstorm we've ever seen, but in a situation like this where we see a large swath of snow just to the northwest of it, right next to a developed low pressure system, it almost spells disaster. Well, not disaster, but it almost spells out that this is going to be a major snowstorm upcoming, because you typically, when we see a individual swath of snow right next to a developed low pressure system, that gives the idea that there's going to be a lot of unstable air, which would rapidly strengthen this storm. And taking a look at the European, nearly 6 days from now, we have a well-developed low pressure system, a very well-developed mid-latitude cyclone, where we're seeing the thunderstorms on the eastern side of the storm and all the moisture and the snow on the northwestern side, and that dry area moving through the southwest, as it pretty much looks like a classic mid-latitude cyclone you typically see in the winter, and a powerful one at that, where we're just seeing a lot of thunderstorm activity to the eastern side and heavy snow on the western side. And you see that this looks like a major type of nor'easter for the northeast going 6 days out. However, the GFS isn't as lenient as bringing a major snowstorm in the northeast, and while it does bring snow to the northeast, I wouldn't call it a major snowstorm, especially for the interior parts, because while the GFS does agree that there's going to be a little bit of a clipper system moving through the United States, bringing a big dip in the jet stream going along with the jet stream, and a little bit of energy towards the southeast from this subtropical jet, it doesn't believe that the two low pressure systems will combine or get close enough to really combine and create that major snowstorm quick enough, as they really merge when it's well far north of the United States, affecting eastern Canada, bringing major snow over there. However, it still brings a decent amount of snow through the Northeast despite not merging initially or as fast as the European model is. But it's nowhere near as big as the European model. So we just have to wait and see. It really all depends on how far south that jet stream dips, because if it dips a little bit further south, that means the Clipper system will move into the Gulf of Mexico, which will allow it to interact with this low pressure system in the Gulf of Mexico and create another big snowstorm, and it'll develop a little bit quicker as a result of a enhanced jet stream dip, as opposed to a little bit later where this Clipper system and this low pressure system in the Gulf of Mexico won't merge until it's in Canada, when it's well past the United States. So we just have to wait and see, because a lot can change within 6 days. However, it's definitely interesting and something to be aware of in the Northeast, because both the European and the GFS model are in agreement that there's going to be at least some sort of major jet stream dip through the United States, bringing below average temperatures, and there's going to be a Clipper system coming from Canada interacting with this Gulf of Mexico low pressure system. However, the question remains how they interact. But with both the computer models agreeing that they're going to interact in some way, it's definitely something to watch. This could not happen at all. That's still a possibility. However, I do at least expect some snow to come out of this. How major will it be, we still don't know, but just stay tuned to, we just need to stay tuned to the computer models forecast. How about right now, we're talking about this major northeast snowstorm that's affecting a lot of the Northeast at this point, where we saw over 2 feet of snow in some areas in New Jersey, which is just insane. And obviously winter storm warnings are in effect all throughout the East Coast right now, the Northeast coast. And in terms of the snowfall we're seeing at this point, it's starting to wind down just a little bit, where the low pressure is now moving a little bit to the north. However, you still could experience 1 to 3 inches of additional snowfall on top of what you already experienced throughout, I would say, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and throughout a lot of the New England and Maine. So keep that in mind, because the snow might not be over just yet for a lot of you guys in the Northeast. However, I would say all snow should end very late on Tuesday, where the low pressure will move well up to the north, and this snow should completely move out. So let's take a look at the future radar that shows this. So 7 a.m., 8 a.m., the snow is still throughout upstate New York, affecting New Jersey a little bit, Pennsylvania, and a lot of New England still. So the morning rush hour could be tough for some of you guys still, because snow will still linger around. And then by Tuesday night into our very early Wednesday, you see most of the snow is gone. We do see some isolated snow showers in upstate New York, but it isn't anything major. And yeah, this storm should be out of here by Wednesday morning. So the good news is there isn't much more snow expected from this storm, but it's hard to say it's good news because you guys already experienced 2 feet of snow in a lot of areas. But it's still definitely good that it's not going to last that much longer, because it's already been a long snowstorm for a lot of you guys. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this snowstorm. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. And I hope you guys have a good day.